Black and Blue Banter. What's up, everybody, and welcome back. It is your host, Trip Morgan, and thank you for joining us tonight. And as you can see, I did make the announcement earlier this week of the name change from Panther Source to Black and Blue Banter, so I appreciate everybody really jumping on that and jumping on board and accepting it. It's just something I really feel like fits this page better. But tonight, I've got a really special guest tonight, and I really want to thank him for taking his time to come up here and talk to us and kind of express himself to New Carolina Panthers fans that we may not know a whole lot about him. On the line, I've got with me rookie Panthers wide receiver Damion Jeanpiere. Damion, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are y'all?
Doing good, man. I really appreciate you taking the time tonight. I know it's probably been a whirlwind for you. I know I've been talking to you a little bit here and there. I know you've been doing a lot of workouts and stuff leading up to rookie camp.
Yeah, I've just been working, trying to get ready for when I come out that Thursday and we get into everything Friday. So I'm just getting ready. Cool,
man. Cool. I know some exciting times for you coming from a FCS school and stuff. Not a lot of people always make it. But let's start from the bottom. You were raised in Kenner, Louisiana. Is that right?
Yeah, Kenner, Louisiana is right outside of New Orleans.
Cool. And you got a couple of siblings. I think you got two younger sisters. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have two little sisters, 17 and 19.
Cool. So you're the older one of the group, huh?
Yeah, I am.
Cool, I got you. Yeah, that Kenner, it's not a real big city, is it? You said it's just outside of New Orleans? How far is it from New Orleans?
Probably like 5-10 minutes. It's right there. It's Metro New Orleans.
Oh, okay, I got you. Nice. Now, so I guess you were pretty heavily affected by Katrina and all that back a few years back and all.
Yeah, I didn't lose my house, but I had some flood damage and some roof damage though.
Yeah, that was pretty wicked. All sports and fan stuff aside, we were all pulling for everybody down there in New Orleans. That was pretty brutal. Now I have to ask before we get into like your high school and your college, growing up down there like 15 minutes from the Metro New Orleans area. I guess did you grow up a New Orleans Saints fan?
I did grow up a New Orleans Saints fan.
But you're not anymore, right?
I can be. I can be.
No, I'm just messing with you. So, I guess if you grew up a New Orleans Saints fan, you're playing football, you're a wide receiver, you probably know of a guy named Steve Smith, I take it, right?
Yeah, I do know Steve Smith.
Yeah. Did you grow up I know you grew up a Saints fan, so it's probably kind of hard to like Steve Smith. I mean, when he went to the Ravens, it was hard for us to kind of accept it as Panthers fans.
Yeah.
Did you grow up like kind of idolizing him in any way? Because I know he kind of has that, that intensity he brings to the game that we all loved and cherished.
Yeah, I did grow up. I watched him a lot. I still watch his highlights. I did like the passion that he brings to the game. He's a great player too, a good player to watch and mimic if you're a young player coming up. So that's what I did, and I like watching him on the field.
Yeah, man, he was. I played receiver too growing up. I didn't make it as far as you, unfortunately. But I did play receiver, and he was like, as growing up a Panthers fan, obviously. He was my idol, and I was a smaller guy anyway, so I had to have that extra chip on the shoulder,
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I've seen you listed in a couple different areas, but around like 6'1", 190. I've even seen 5'10", 175 or something. Where are you right now? I mean, where is that at? Where's the gray area there?
6 foot, 180.
6 foot, 180. Okay, cool. So you still you're right at a good size for some speed. I know you were a deep threat. You went to Archbishop Rummel High School.
Yeah.
Is that a pretty big football school down there? Because I saw some of y'all's Nichols State stuff with some of your teammates at the time, and y'all always kind of going back and forth about Rummel and another school. I guess that was down the street. Y'all were kind of rivals.
Yeah, we rivals with. We had a couple rivals. Jesuit High School, St. Aug, Brother Martin. We all in the Catholic League together. It's the best league in the state of Louisiana. We in 5A, so there's a lot of good players coming out that league. And yeah, we got a few rivals on the team at Nichols State too. and we always talking trash with each other, going back and forth. It was always love, though.
Yeah, because that's what it always seemed like on a little bit of videos and stuff I watched with you. It was all, like y'all always clowning around with each other. It seemed like, I know you and the quarterback, you and your quarterback kind of went to Nicholls State out of high school together. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's a year under me, so he came after my freshman year to Nicholls.
Gotcha. I think there was a lot of buzz about that first year of that happening. I saw a lot of y'all going back and forth. They're like, they always want them Rummel guys. They don't ever want us. They always want them Rummel guys. That was pretty funny. But yeah, in high school, I was looking at y'all's, year by year with the football program, and you're not joking. I mean, there was multiple state championships. It definitely seemed like a stalwart down there in Louisiana. Were you part of that 2012, 2013 state championship team?
Yeah, I was. I was a sophomore, but I played defense my sophomore year.
I was gonna say you were a cornerback, correct?
Yeah, I did get a ring there.
Yeah, I was gonna say y'all went undefeated in 2012, right?
Yeah, we did. We had a great team.
Man, that must be nice. Coming so where I'm from, I went to like a 1A high school. I think it's 2A now. So you're talking about 5A where you're at. You can only imagine the struggles we went through trying to make a name for our high school. When we had like a good season, we made the state. It was huge. So I imagine that was fun, man. But like you said, you started freshman year at cornerback. What made you want to move to receiver? Was that something coaches wanted to see, or is that a move you just wanted to make, or you just like playing both?
No, yeah, it's a move that me and my dad had talked about, because growing up, he used to teach me routes, teach me how to catch, teach me different things from the offensive side of the ball. And when I got there, they put me on defense, and so I kind of got tired of it, and just thought I could do more for the team. And that's when I asked my coach to switch to offense, and it ended up working out great.
Yeah, well, that's cool, man. I mean, I guess you didn't get the ball enough on defense, I guess. I mean, I imagine you were trying to ball hawk and nothing, but you seem to do pretty well with the ball in your hands from the highlights I watched.
Yeah. I like having the ball and being able to do things.
Now, you went from obviously Archbishop Rummel, big football school, to a big FCS school in Nicholls State and down in Louisiana. Staying in that Louisiana area, that's pretty cool. Getting to rep the home state that whole way. Now, you finished all-time in receiving yards, second all-time in receiving yards at Nicholls State. Do you know who the first person is that holds that record?
Yeah, Mark Carrier.
You know where he played professional football at and was drafted?
No, I don't. Carolina
Panthers.
Oh, I didn't know. I know he's with the Panthers right now working. I didn't know he played there too, though.
Yeah, he was part of the '95 expansion draft, and he was actually shout out to my boy Spence over at Small Town Riot. He knows all these things about Panthers guys too, and he brought it up, and he actually knew something about it on Twitter today too. But Mark Carrier he actually holds what does he hold here? He has the leader in receptions, yards, and yards per catch with 20.4 average and 100-yard games at 11. Now, you had a shoulder injury in your college career, right?
Yeah, my freshman year.
Okay, so that held you out a full season?
Yeah, I got hurt week 4, I think. It was week 4, and I was out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, now I know that kind of put a damper on things, because you're right up there with Mark Carrier, man. I mean, you're not far behind in the receiving yards, and I'm sure you know that. I mean, this is one of the things that kind of drives you in goals everywhere you go. Mark finished with 2,547, and you just came up a couple hundred yards short at 23-24. If you'd have played that freshman season, dude, you may be holding Nicholls State record. I mean, that's got to feel good.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I'm blessed. I mean, God has blessed me with a work ethic and the ability to play football, and to be second. It's something that you don't even work to be first all time or second all time. You work just to win games, and if you're doing pretty good, that comes. So
that's what I like to hear, is winning games, doing whatever it takes. That's what I'm all about. I mean, you got to play. You got to play for the name on the front of the jersey instead of the back sometimes, if you want to make money and do well anyway. So I can respect that. Now, I hit on a little bit about you doing your most damage moving from cornerback to wide receiver with the ball in your hands. before the ball gets in your hands, Mark Carrier, I was talking about yards per catch, 20.4. Your career average at Nicholls State was 18.2. That's not too damn shabby either, man. Clearly a deep threat.
Yes, sir. I just like to tell my quarterback, man, just get the ball out there, and we gonna get it done.
Yeah, that's pretty stout there coming out of college. 128 receptions again. Like I said, you're right up there with Mark Carrier. Who knows what would have happened if you didn't have the shoulder surgery? But that was your freshman year. You played. You just graduated this past year, right?
Yeah, well, I graduate after this semester.
Okay, I got you. So, I take it your shoulder's fine now. It's been doing great. You haven't had any relapses or anything there?
No, I haven't had problems since then.
That's good. That's good. That's cool, man. That's good to hear. Now, speaking of big games, I had to go watch your Texas A&M tape in 2017.
Yeah.
Dude, 5 catches, 174 yards, and you want to talk about yards per catch at 34.8. Goodness gracious. And fans watching right now, this is if you need to go watch these highlights. I posted them when I put out the tweet today promoting the show. You really need to go look up the Texas A&M game if you can, because all you see is Damion. Like, all the highlights is Damion. They're dropping dimes to him. He's making moves. A lot of the highlights I was talking about, you're catching like post patterns over the middle, deep, and then you're doing that spin move and taking off to the end zone. I mean, like reflex. Like, you weren't even looking. You just knew he was there. How do you have that kind of instinct? And I mean, I guess it's just playing. Like I said earlier in the show, you work out constantly trying to keep in shape. I mean, how do you build that kind of instinct?
It's something that's God-given. First of all, it has to be God-given, and you just work on it. The more you play football, the more you know where the defenders will be. The more you know what moves you can do and moves you couldn't do in certain situations. So it just whatever move I feel like I have to do in that situation is just going to come.
Yeah. So it's just it's more of like a natural feel for you, I guess.
Yeah, it's just a natural feel. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, looking at a little bit of film I've seen, it looks like you've got the feel for it, I would say. Getting back to Mark Carrier for a minute, have you actually met Mark yet?
No, I haven't.
I'm curious to know, because he is, like you said, you knew he was working with the Carolina Panthers. I'm curious to know if he had anything to do, because he's senior advisor to Marty Herney, the general manager, who ultimately helps make the decision to bring you in. So I'm curious if I know he keeps up with Nicholls State. Obviously, he's in the Hall of Fame down there too, right?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, so I'm curious to know. I'm sure you'll meet him at some point. I'm sure he's excited to meet you, and likewise. But because he, like I said, he was the first 1,000-yard receiver for Carolina in history. He actually scored. So Carolina, when they had their expansion team, they played down in the Clemson Tigers football stadium, and he scored the first touchdown for Carolina there, and he also scored the first touchdown at the Charlotte Stadium when it was finished. It was then Ericsson, now Bank of America. So some pretty wild ties there. When I was digging around, that initially I didn't realize when I contacted you. So it's kind of worked out, man. That's pretty cool. And hopefully, who knows? Maybe you can come up and do the next big thing for us. I'm hoping so, anyway.
Yeah, that's the plan. I'm gonna just keep working, and wherever I'm needed, I'm gonna be there.
Yeah, well, that's got to keep your head down, your hopes up high, and your head down low. Now, an article was put out today. Rivera's talking about rookie mini camp, and in the past, they've been kind of more on the physical side of things. But this year, he said, they had a bunch of the guys from the AAF, that league that just kind of disbanded out of nowhere. Well, I say out of nowhere. I think a lot of people expected it, but they kind of used it as a farm league for the NFL in a way. And this year, Rivera said he wants to be more on the X's and O's and the classroom side of things. They're going to have him out there, but he wants it to be more of a learning process with the rookies. I mean, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about your as far as your route trees and stuff like that, and your X's and O's and the playbooks and stuff? I mean, I know you feel like you're ready to take this next step. Obviously, you've been playing college for 4 years now. What do you anticipate the biggest change to be moving from college to the NFL?
Just really the speed of the game. Players are smarter, players are faster. So you have to make decisions quicker, and that starts in the classroom. If you know what you're doing, it's gonna make it a whole lot easier to make those decisions on the field on the fly. But if you don't know what you're doing, it makes it a whole lot harder. So I think it's great that coaches are doing that, and getting us in the classroom, getting us in the playbook, making sure we know what we're doing before we even step on the field.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like this, you can go out there and do anything you want, physically wise. If you don't know the plays you're running, I guess it really ain't going to do you any good. So
yeah, you're right.
So yeah, maybe we'll see how that approach works out. I guess we haven't seen that side of things. Like I said, this is something new Rivera's going to try this year and see how it goes. It's something he's been talking about. Now, I know, obviously, you know who the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers is Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Right? How have you what were your thoughts on Cam before you became a Carolina Panther? I mean, there's been a lot of 50-50. Obviously, he's one of the more talented quarterbacks in the league. I know you grew up a Saints fan, so you're always pulling for the Saints, and we're going to talk more about the Saints right here in a minute because of their last 2 years and how their seasons ended. But I mean, how pumped are you to get on the field with a guy like Cam Newton at the caliber of play he's played at? I mean, how pumped are you to get on the field and try to catch maybe some passes from him and even new rookie Will Grier? I mean, he's gotten some hype right now.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited about playing with Cam Newton. I was watching him even when he was in college. Even some JUCO clips I see from Cam Newton. I always liked him as a player. Just the passion he has for the game. And he knows how to throw the ball. He knows how to run with the ball. He's a great player. I'm excited to play with him.
Yeah, and DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, some other guys.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina's really trying to get more into. They went through a phase with like Kelvin Benjamin and Devin Funchess, who is now with the Colts.
Yeah.
They went through a phase of big guys and trying to play this like monstrous statue game. I've always been as that's just the receiver in me anyway. I think from younger days, but I've always been of the opinion separation wins. Like that helps your quarterback. And it also helps the yak category, which Carolina has struggled in since losing Ted Ginn and Steve Smith. But this is something, like I mentioned before, you excel at. And I think that's one of the reasons they kind of brought you in to Carolina. What was I don't even think I asked you, what was your 40 time? Wasn't it like a 4.38 on your pro day? Was that right?
I mean, they had different times. The lowest time I heard was a 4.25. I heard 4.3.
Oh, okay.
So I don't even know my official time, but it was between 4.25 and 4.3. So
I got you. Yeah, I know they don't use like the official clocks at pro days and stuff. I thought maybe I was reading another article. I don't know what year it was from or anything, but yeah, Dag, that's scooting, man. They should have had you out there at the combine so we could get that official clock.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like they brought you in for that, that deep threat and your yak ability, like we've talked about. I mean, you weren't just like beating guys deep constantly. You were also getting the ball on quick little hitch routes, making a spin move, and taking it upfield for a touchdown, or just big plays in general. So that's one thing I'm excited to have you for. I don't know about everybody else, but that's one thing I feel like Carolina needs more of, and they've been building towards that with guys like DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, and Christian McCaffrey. So, who was your favorite receiver growing up, man? I got to ask you that.
I like Odell. I got a couple favorites. I like Odell. I like Antonio Brown.
Mm-hmm.
I always watched Julio, Amari Cooper, just a lot of the guys. Stephon Diggs.
Oh yeah, Stephon's dirty.
So I don't. Yeah, it's hard to just choose one favorite player because they're great, but that's just a lot of the guys I like to watch.
Yeah, you can respect a lot of different aspects of the game. Julio, like a true number one. AB and them.
Yeah.
It's all that stuff with AB was going down this year was crazy, but I mean,
man.
Really the wide receivers in general. Odell going from New York. I don't know what Dave Gettleman's doing out there. I can tell you now, I'm glad you don't have to deal with him. Not being in Carolina anymore. I don't need you to say nothing about that. I'll say it for you. I'm glad you don't have to deal with him or any other Carolina Panthers do because I don't know what he's doing right now. But anyway, so we were talking about the Saints earlier. I mean, what was your reaction these last 2 years, man? I know, 2 years ago, the play against Minnesota with Stephon Diggs, obviously you just talked about you liked him. That was crazy. And then this past year, was it a defensive pass interference? Was it not? Well, I mean, I think it's pretty clear it was. But
Yeah.
what was your look? You already jumping on it. What was your reaction to all that, man? I know that was that had to hurt.
Yeah, I mean, just watching the Saints growing up, they weren't always that good, but they always had a pretty loyal fan base. And just to see them, come from the bottom and rise up these last few years, it's amazing. Just the last 2 years, I don't know. Stephon Diggs, he made a nice play and went scored at the end of the season for the Saints. And then last year, it was a bad call. I just think if something's meant to be, it's going to be. So maybe it just wasn't the year in the last 2 years,
You got to wonder, though, because I know Drew Brees is coming up. They're getting ready to pay him a big chunk of money next year.
Yeah.
And I know his time's coming up, and I think that's really kind of been why they've been in this win-now mode with these guys. And obviously they've been I said, 2 years ago when they lost to Minnesota, I felt like they were the best team in the NFC. And I still stand by that. You can't, the one play sucks, but I don't think you can judge a full team off of one play at the end of the year. Sometimes that's just football. I mean, that's sports in general. And then, of course, this last year, who knows what would have happened if that pass interference doesn't go through. But you can't always call games. There's always ways to, early in the games that you miss plays on, you got to make up for. So that's sports, man. Sometimes it just sucks. Trust me, our nickname here is the Cardiac Cats. We know all about heart attacks and close games. But so a couple quick, few more questions here, and this is kind of just more on a personal, just get to know you level. You play video games at all?
Yeah, I do.
What are you, a PlayStation man? You an Xbox guy? What are you?
I play PlayStation and PS4.
Yeah, that's my man. Yeah. You play what are some of your favorite games you play right now?
I'm playing Madden, Fortnite, Call of Duty, 2K.
I got you.
And that's really it. That's really all the games I have.
Do you play Blackout on Call of Duty?
Blackout. I don't even know what that is, so I don't play that.
It's Call of Duty's version of Fortnite. I heard you say Call of Duty, so I didn't know. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I don't play that. No.
Yeah, I got you. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like Fortnite better.
Yeah, I could never get good at Fortnite, man. I go shooting somebody, and when they start building a fort, it pisses me off. I can't do nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not good at it, but I still play it. I'm still trying.
Yeah, but I definitely play Madden now. I will get down on some Madden. We might have to get together. How good are you now? First of all, before I get to
I'm pretty good. I could say that I'm pretty good at Madden.
Okay, we might have to get together and do a game one time. Because I love Madden. Yeah, I love Madden now. That's my jam. And what are your favorite music artists right now? Your YouTube channel, first of all, just kind of reminded me. Your YouTube channel, did you run that channel? Did you start it years ago?
Yeah, I did, just to put some highlights of football up there.
I got you. I thought I heard one of them was Travis Scott's Sicko Mode, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know.
As far as music goes, I just whatever tempo I'm feeling for my video. Okay. That's the kind of song I want to put on there.
I got you. What are is there any particular artist you listen to the most to get ready for a game or practice or anything to really get you hyped up, or is it does it vary a lot?
I mean, it varies. It just depends on how I'm feeling, really.
Got you.
I listen to a lot of gospel music.
Okay, I got you. You can get down with that. Now, Cam Newton's the DJ at practice, right? So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no. Cam's the DJ at practice. You'll find out real quick. Don't worry. All you gotta do is look up Cam DJ and Panthers practice somewhere, and you'll find it. But there's no telling what he'll have you listen. He'll have you listen to AC/DC one day, and then you'll be listening to Future. You might be listening to Sicko Mode. I mean, it's gonna be all over the place.
Cam Newton, I know he's gonna have it, lit.
Yeah.
He's gonna bring the energy. So whatever it is, I know it's gonna bring a lot of energy to the field.
Yeah, that's definitely Cam, man. He's full of energy. He's like a little kid out there, just having a good time. And a lot of people have hated him for it. I personally love it because some people get too tied up in the game. And I mean, if you ain't having fun at the end of the day, what are you doing?
You're right. Yeah.
But look, Are you familiar? I know you're not familiar with a lot of stuff Carolina Panthers, but there's a group I want to introduce you to. You're probably going to hear a lot more about as you're around the team and in Charlotte and whatnot. Have you heard of the fan group, the Roaring Riot, by any chance?
No, I haven't heard of them.
Okay, well they're like this. Basically, it's a big fan group. There's a bunch of members. They put together and they travel. They put together away packages and travel to different games, or like all the away games. They're there for every home game. They throw big tailgates and stuff. That's actually the guy I was shouting out earlier. They have chapters all around the U.S., actually all around the world. I mean, in England, Germany. I think they are working on one in Australia. But real cool group, man. I'll say when you make the 53-man roster. How about that? When you make the 53-man roster, you're going to hear them loud and proud at away games. But I just want you to kind of keep an ear to the ground for those guys because Zach, he's the leader. They do killer stuff out there, and I'm sure you'll hear a lot more about them as you get accustomed to Charlotte more. But one more thing, man. Obviously, Charlotte's a big and I'm sure every team's like this, but obviously the bias in me feels like Charlotte's really tight-knit with the players and the community and giving back and stuff. Obviously, we just designated May 1st as Keep Pounding Day after Sam Mills. And I had to ask, man, if you make it in the NFL and you're able to make, a charity foundation like most players, is there a certain tie or foundation that you have in life that you would, kind of start a foundation for? Anything? I mean, have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, I have. They got a lot of kids that's less fortunate than others, whether it's the area they live in. I just want to build, different parks and playgrounds so they can get active and, get in touch with sports and just get out there. It's going out and playing. Whether it's basketball or football, just running around playing it, just getting out there and being active.
Yep.
Keeping a lot of young kids off the street so they won't turn in the wrong direction. That's what I would like to do.
Yeah, that's you took the words right out of my mouth when you started that, was keeping them off the streets and in the right direction. Because, I mean, if they're out there playing football and focus, man, I mean, you get to the stage like you are, dude, it's like a dream come true. I mean, that's the pinnacle. And I mean, obviously, you just want to get started right now. You don't want it to end here, but to make it this far is an accomplishment. So big congrats to you on that. And one last thing, do you have a favorite movie? Are you a movie guy?
The Hunger Games.
Oh, okay. I like the Hunger Games trilogy. All right.
Hunger Games for sure.
You get down with the Avengers and all that stuff going on right now?
I do watch it. I haven't seen it yet, but I plan to go see it soon. I just haven't had time.
Gotcha.
I do like the Avengers too. Yeah.
How about this Game of Thrones saga?
No, I haven't watched that. I heard it was good. I haven't watched it though.
Don't feel bad, man. Look, I watched like a season and a half, and I couldn't get into it. I think like it's put together well and everything, but I just couldn't get into it. But hey, maybe you will if you have time to give it a shot. I think your days are getting ready to get pretty busy though, so I don't know how much you'll be able to watch. Are you gonna move up to Charlotte, or are you just gonna come back and forth for a little while? I mean, how's that gonna work with you?
Yeah, I'm gonna be up there from Thursday up until June 20th.
Okay.
And that's when they'll let us go home for the summer, and then we come back for training camp, and that's when I'm gonna move up there. Find a place to stay.
I got you. Sweet, man. Awesome. Well, Damion, do you have a nickname, by the way?
Yeah, JP.
JP. All right, cool. Because Cam gives out nicknames too. You'll probably have another one. And then he takes, and I don't know if you know this either, but he takes his receivers and they go up to I think the Hill is in Baltimore at the Under Armour facility, and sometimes he takes a bunch of the receivers and offensive players with him. You might be one of them this year. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But he puts them through an extensive workout up there in Baltimore at the Under Armour facility for the Hill, and it's pretty treacherous from what I hear. So you might want to get prepared for that. I'm sure you're ready, but.
Yeah, I'm excited to get it in.
Yeah, I know you are. I can only imagine that feeling of getting that phone call and saying, "Hey, come play with the Carolina Panthers in the NFL." It's got to be good.
Yeah, it's a blessing. Yeah, it's a blessing for sure.
Definitely. Well, JP, I'm gonna call you JP if that's cool with you. Everybody else does. Thanks for
that's
joining the
cool.
show tonight, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to kind of enlighten everybody on your background a little bit, and hopefully we'll see some big things coming from you. People have made it coming from these smaller places before. Maybe you're the next one.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be pulling for you anyway. I'm sure the Panthers fans will. So thanks again for tuning in with me, man. And I'll try to keep in touch with you. I ain't going to bother you a whole lot. I might shoot you something at the end of the camp one day or whatnot. We'll check back in with you.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, man. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in tonight. If you're following along on Facebook Live or Twitter, go ahead and like and follow us there on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. We are at Instagram at Black Blue Banter now as well. You can catch us up there. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Trip Morgan. This is Damion Jeanpiere, Jr. of Nichols State, now with Carolina Panthers wide receivers. Y'all keep pounding, and we will see you next week.